in death. The last constituent element of this love that can overcome alienation, loneliness, estrangement, separateness, whatever you want to call it in sociological terms, is commitment. Is commitment. A good counselor in the Christian realm is not overawed by somebody's past. I sometimes think when I listen to my colleagues in the social sciences, they're either neo-Freudian or neo-behaviorist who somehow believe that what's happened in the past determines who you are. You've heard that, haven't you? That the socialization process, the experiences of the past have molded you into the person that you are today. It's almost a kind of predestination. You've been molded into who you are by what your background is and what your past experiences are. Please don't get me wrong. Past experiences have an incredible impact on who we are, on what we're feeling, on what's going on in our lives. They just do not determine who we are. Here's what George Herbert Mead would say. This is what that whole school of what we call symbolic interactionists would say. Who an individual is and what an individual is going through has more to do with his future or her future than anything in the past. And that's good news, people. Because I got to tell you something about the past. You can't change it. What's done is done. You can try to reinterpret it, give it a new spin, but in the end, it's happened. But the future is still in flux. It's yours. It's yours and you can create it. If I believed that the past determined who we are and what we are, I would give up the ministry of the organization that has held my attention for the last 42 years, the one that I helped found and gave my life to. We work with inner city kids, kids who have been through hell and back, kids whose backgrounds are so horrid that if you looked at them you would say, coming out of that background, there's no hope for them. I got news for you. It's not the past that determines who you are. I can say to any kid, I don't care about what you've done in the past and what you've been and what your family background. As a matter of fact, stop talking about it because it's only giving you an excuse for the mess you're in. The real question is, what are you going to decide about the future? What are you going to decide about the future? The future. What you are is more determined. That's both the glory and the bane of our existence as human beings. For instance, all of us know we're going to die. That's one of the horrors of human existence. We know we're going to die. That can be frightening. Freud actually talked about thanatos and the fear of death for the one of us. We know we're going to die. That's the downside. The positive side is that we are free to create our own identities. I always have kids say to me, I'm trying to find out who I am. I'm tired of playing these roles that others have prescribed for me. Has your kid pulled this one off? Doc, I need to take time. I'm not coming back next semester. I just need to, here it comes, find myself. And they all look in the same place, Boulder, Colorado. I'm saying to myself, this kid hasn't done anything for the last 6 months. He needs time to find himself. Jeez. And then he gets passionate. I've got to peel away the identity that my family has prescribed for me, that the school has prescribed for me, that the church has prescribed for me, that my friends prescribe for me. I've got to peel away each of these socially created identities, each of these socially created selves, and come to grips with the core of my being, the essence of my selfhood. Jeez. Makes you want to puke, doesn't it? Well, they always say the same thing, Charlie. Suppose you peel away each of these social identities, each of these socially prescribed personas, and you discover you're an onion. What's an onion? It's nothing more than the what? The sum total of its skins. You peel away all the skins, you got nothing left. And it just may be, Charlie, that after you peel away each of these socially generated identities and take the long guru trip into the innermost recesses of your being, when you get there, hi-ho, nobody's home. You know, stuff to think about. Of all the young people you know that are taking time off to find themselves, have you ever met anybody who did? I'm waiting for somebody to come back and say, oh, God, I found myself just north of Cincinnati. You know, and that's for a very solid reason. Because the existentialist philosophers were absolutely right. We condemn them too quickly. They say that the self is not an essence waiting to be discovered through introspection. That's Greek philosophy. It's not reality. The self is not an essence waiting to be discovered. Quite the opposite. The self is something waiting to be created. Waiting to be created. And whether you have a self or don't have a self has everything to do with whether you've created a self. You say, how do you do that? Through commitments. You are the sum total of the commitments you have made. The commitments you have made. Oh, I've seen lives changed because people have been committed to them. I have a couple of guys here who were pastors of churches. Now they want their ministry to extend beyond the local church, around the world, so to speak. Committed. Committed. I have a friend. He's a school teacher. He won the award for Teacher of the Year, not just for the state of Minnesota, but for the whole United States of America. He was brought to Washington to receive the award from the President of the United States. I asked him, Guy, why did you become an English teacher? He said, well, when I was in the 8th grade, I was overweight, horribly overweight. Kids made fun of me, they laughed at me. Towards the end of the 8th grade, the teacher said, you'll be in high school next year. We all wanted to know what that would be like, and one of the things she said was, you'll go to physical ed once a week. Physical ed, what's that? Gym. You know, you'll go down to the men's locker room, she said to the boys, girls, you go to the girls' locker, you'll strip down, you'll get in your gym clothes, and when she said strip down, I froze. I knew what would happen when I took my clothes off. And the other boys in the locker room would see my fat body with the flab hanging over it. I was afraid. That first Friday, I went down to the gym, I stripped down, I wanted to get dressed in my gym clothes as quickly as I could. My mother always told me, when you put on underwear, make sure the label is in the back. That's true for everything. Guys would know this. True for everything except for a jockstrap. The jockstrap